Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Stephanie Bree. You may have noticed I've dyed my hair green. Yay, I'm happy. Um, so today I'm going down memory lane and we're talking about sick days and skipping school. These were two things that I enjoyed doing tremendously as a kid. Um, so let's talk about we'll talk about sick days. We're going to talk about snow days separately. That's a whole nother video. But we're going to talk about sick days and skipping school. So, um, I didn't miss a lot of school days, but I missed enough that I was never qualified for the quote perfect attendance award that they gave out at the end of the fucking year. And I always hated those douchebag nerds that got it. I was like, fuck you, you piece of shit. You coming to school sick and spreading your germs. You're the reason why I'm staying home with the fucking flu because you wouldn't stay home with your flu, dipshit. Anyways, um, so most of the time, sick days for me were the usual, a cold, a flu, something similar to that, the seasonal bug, whatever it was. Today it would be COVID, but, back in the day it would have been, we would have just said the cold or the flu. I did miss school for a while when I got the chicken pox because everybody did. Um, and, most of the time, sick days for me was just, you know, mom turning the light on and saying, get up, it's time for school, and me saying, I don't feel good. She never checked my temperature. She never asked me my symptoms. She just said, oh, what's wrong? And I would say, I don't feel good. I have a stomach ache or I'm sick. I would just say vague things like I'm sick, I'm not well, I hurt, whatever. I would just say whatever I felt like. And she would believe me. And usually, 9 times out of 10, I was sick. Legit. Stomach ache or headache or cold, flu. Yes, I would stay home from school if I woke up with a headache because I wasn't going to go to school with a pounding headache and deal with the bullies. I wasn't going to do it. So for me, sick days were few and far between, but it was pretty much the trust system in our house. It was pretty much, they took our word. My parents just took us at our word. Um, there was two instances where I missed school. I would classify as sick days, but they weren't your typical sick days. The first instance was when I was in kindergarten. I got attacked by a dog who bit open my chest, and I had to go to the doctor. And I missed a day of school because of that. And then when I was in, I believe, second grade, I want to say, first or second grade, um, I had a kidney infection and I had to miss a week of school because I had to sit in a hospital bed while they operated on me and did their stuff and gave me medicines and told me to eat nothing but ice cream and soft foods for a week. And so I got to miss a week of school for that, which was pretty cool. Um, the one thing I did like about my parents in regards to sick days is they pampered us. So if I told my mom or my dad I was sick and I wasn't going to school, and I wasn't saying it wasn't like asking them, "Hey, I'm not well, can I stay home?" It was, "I'm not well, I'm not going to school today." Is how it was in our house, which was fine by me because my parents were cool parents. So if I was like, "Mom, I'm not feeling well. I don't want to go to school today." It was like, "Okay." So what my parents would do in those instances, which is whichever one would stay home with me, because one of them had to, because I was sick. That parent would usually mom, because mom was a waitress for most of my childhood, so it was easier for her to take a day off than it was for my dad because my dad worked at a factory, at a bus factory. And, his income paid the bills. Mom's income was just, groceries and toys and, the extras and things. So she could afford to take a day off from time to time, whereas my dad really couldn't. So sick days for us were like, okay, tell me what you want, and I'll go to the store and get it. So it would be like, okay, I want you to go to the video store and get me this movie and this video game. I want you to go to the grocery store and get me this special lunch, and of course the medicine, whatever medicine would fix my ailment. And if you don't mind, a toy would be nice. And mom would go to the store and she would come home with the movie I wanted from the video store and the video game I asked for and, whatever special meal I wanted and sometimes a toy. Usually a Hot Wheel or, something like that, like a cheap toy, not like an expensive toy. But she would pamper us if we were sick. Mom did a really good job of that. Most of the times I stayed home sick from school, it was, I would say the cold or the flu, the seasonal bug. There were a few times I stayed home from school because I had a stomach ache and I didn't want to go to school. I was like puking a lot. Couple of times where it was just a headache. I would say I have a migraine. I can't go to school. And my parents were like, okay, stay home, get better. Like I said, 9 times out of 10, I was legit sick. But the 10th time, there were a handful of times where I just, faked it just to get an extra day. Either because I didn't want to face the bullies, or I didn't want to take a test, or they were doing the stupid presidential fucking fitness bullshit and I didn't want to go to PE that day, or whatever it was. I just wanted to miss whatever it was, I just wanted to miss a day. So those were sick days. Now, skipping school, just not going. You're fine. Your parents are like, get dressed, go to school, whatever. And then you just stay home anyways. That happened too. And I wouldn't fake sick. I would just not go to school. So I only have a handful of 5 or 6 examples of that. There was one day we had a dog who we kept on a chain in the yard because we lived in a trailer park and didn't have a fence around our yard. And the dog got off the chain and took off. And we lived right next to a highway. Our house was here. The highway was here. So it was not safe for the dog. So I missed the school bus to chase the dog through the ditch, catch the dog, bring the dog home, put her back on her chain. And oops, we lived out in the country. So when you miss the school bus, mom's at work, dad's at work, the school bus is gone. There's no way to get to school. I stayed home. There was one time where me and my sisters fabricated a plan to stay home. What we did was I hid my sister's shoes somewhere in the house, and my sisters hid my shoes somewhere in the house. And our excuse for why we didn't go to school was we couldn't find our shoes. So we just stayed home. Yeah, we got an ass whooping for that one, I'll tell you what. But, there weren't too many examples of that. Now, there was the time that same dog did get out and actually got hit by a truck. And it was brutal. We had to take her to the vet. Oh, it was awful. They had to stitch her up. And so I had to go home from school at certain intervals. I had a note from my mom to go home from school to apply medicine to my dog's wound, so she wouldn't get infected and so she could heal and everything. So that wasn't necessarily skipping school, but that was more or less missing school in a roundabout way. Later on in middle school, I got into trouble, fighting bullies, mostly defending myself, but, things went south. And I got suspended a couple of times. Out of school. I mostly had in-school suspensions where they just lock you in a room with the other so-called troublemakers and they just don't let you mingle with the other kids. By the way, anybody who's a school administrator, word of advice, do not put 2 kids who hate each other and want to beat each other up in a closed space and expect them not to want to try to fucking kill each other. I'm just saying. Use your fucking brains. Because that was what led to my out of school suspension, where I got a free vacation. Sit at home, and they would send my homework. They would, my mom would have to go to school and pick up my homework and bring it to me, and I would do my homework from home, which, I never fucking did. Now, I got crafty in high school. My first year of high school, I was in band. I was in band every year that it was offered. And band was actually offered what was known as 0 hour, the class hour before school officially started. Now, for most kids, this was the breakfast hour. This was when you would go to the lunchroom and get your, state-sponsored lunch. Or breakfast, excuse me. But for me, this was when I would go do band class. And they gave us a choice at the beginning of the year. They gave us a choice. You could, because you had to take so many classes a day. You could take an extra class throughout the day and then just take one extra class that semester, that year, that school year, and then just get ahead towards graduation. Or you could pick a free period, your choice, and you could have a free period. And so what I did was I crafted my schedule so that the last period of the day for me was my free period. So I got to go home an hour before all the other kids, which meant I got to walk home by myself without any other kids getting in the way. No parents driving their kids back and forth. No traffic. Just so peaceful. And I got home and I had the whole house to myself for a whole hour. And I fucking loved it. I would go straight to my bedroom. I would turn on the Super Nintendo. I would start up my Super Mario World cartridge. I would put on my Quad CD DJs CD and then just jam. Play fucking Super Mario World and jam to the fucking music for an hour before my sisters got home. And I loved it. Now, I did start missing more and more days in school once I got to high school. To which I got to the point where I dropped out entirely and enrolled in homeschooling for a year. And then that didn't work out. So I went back to school to give it a second shot. That didn't work out, and I ended up dropping out a second time and then getting my GED. But that's a whole nother video for another day. Might have already done that video, I don't remember. So for me, missing school, whether it was a sick day or just staying home, by accident or on purpose, was it was a treat, In any given month, there's 4 weeks in a month, 30 days roundabout, 20 school days in a month, I guess. Monday through Friday, Monday through Friday times 4, that's 20. Okay, so you had 20 school days in a month. On any given month, I would maybe miss 1 day of school per month, for the most part. But in the wintertime, when the bug was going around, I'd sometimes miss 2 or 3 in a row, which was always good for me. And I always timed it. So where I would get sick on Thursday, so I would have Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday off, and then go back to school on Monday. I was very good about that, giving myself the 4-day weekend. The bonus 4-day weekend. So yeah, any excuse for me to not be in school, I would take. I would jump at it. So yeah, there you go. Sick days. Stay cool.